Hello, welcome, good morning, good evening, and this is Social Q. I'm your host, Skilly Morals, with my co-host, Noah Pagan. Noah, say hi to the people.
What's up, people?
Hi, and this is episode 5. Aren't you excited, Noah? We finally have 5 episodes of something.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I know, it's weird to think about. We're actually accomplishing something that we haven't accomplished. All right. So last week's episode was kind of different because we actually had a special guest on, my neighbor, Sierra Majors, not related to Majors Health Wellness Center. During that, Noah's actually revealed his test results, and I actually released them on our Instagram. Yes, we finally have an Instagram now. From, what is it, Political Compass?
Yeah, politicalcompass.com or something.
Yeah,
if you look at Political Compass, it's one of the first things.
Okay, so he took his test results. We talked about my test results on, what was it, episode 3.
Yeah, I think it's the same one that Ben Shapiro took.
Yeah,
it's the same website.
It's the exact same one that Ben Shapiro took. Just look him up if you watch him. I don't know if you watch him and us. That'd be weird. But, Noah, we're going to talk about your test results real quick. Were you surprised at what you got?
Yeah, actually, I was kind of thinking that Gilbert would be more... Okay, so I'm not like... so thinking back on it, it isn't surprising because I really don't have a conservative bone in my body, like, at all. And
I do. I have somewhat of a conservative bone.
I think that's just mainly your culture. Don't worry, I'll convert you more to the left. It's your upbringing. It's okay. It's fine.
What about... No, hold on. My upbringing is more liberal than yours.
No, I think... No, like...
You don't think so?
I think... I don't know. I think your family's a little bit more traditionalist. I feel like that.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Yeah, my family, even
That's
though
the Hispanic
my
part.
dad is like super conservative, my mom is just like whoever. I mean, she's voted for I think both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, but my family doesn't vote.
Yeah, but like in terms of like their cultural like what they do, they're not really a traditionalist type of thing. Like we're not really like super about traditions. You know, we have traditions, but like I feel like your family is a little bit more traditionalist, and that's in that sense I feel like that makes you a little bit more conservative. Actually, you ended up being a lot. You're not conservative, but you ended up being like a decent amount. But that's only because I'm so far to the left that makes you look.
Yeah, it makes me look more conservative than I actually am.
Yeah,
I'm more
by perspective.
In the sense of left and right of the scale, I'm really close. I'm like 2 points off from the middle.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I'm definitely in the green, I don't know, left libertarian category.
Yeah.
So we're both that way, and so is my fiance, which I'm kind of glad for.
We're both pretty much, I think, left anarchists.
Yeah, in the definition of it, you and Carrie are left anarchist type individuals. So, do they have a name for where I'm at?
I think for you, it's like you're in the socialist range, but also I think social democracy would be a little bit more to the left, but you're close to social democracy, if that makes any sense.
I'm a democratic socialist then.
You're more of a Bernie Sanders. I feel like you're slightly more left than Bernie Sanders, I would say.
You like that noise I made?
I don't know.
I'm with Bernie.
The thing is that Bernie, like, whenever Bernie at times will seem socialist, and then there are other times where he just seems like a classical social democrat. So it's like, I think that he's more of a social democrat, more like an FDR type. So I think you're a little bit farther left than that. I think you're definitely farther left than that. So that's the reason why I wouldn't say you're a social democrat.
That's interesting.
But, I don't know. I was surprised initially, and then I realized I was like, I don't have any agreements with, like, conservatives. So I guess that makes sense when I'm thinking about it. And I don't like the thing about anarchism is that you don't really like unjust hierarchies. Like, if you have a hierarchy within, like, your government, you have to, like, there has to be a justification for it. And I'm all about that. That's like one thing I can definitely get on board with a lot of libertarians as well. You know, capitalist libertarians. I guess that makes sense. But when I first did it, I was like, what the fuck? I thought I did it wrong at first. I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was really wild to me to see you like almost max out the scale.
Yeah, I was only 1 point off of like being totally left, and then I was like two or 1 points off of being totally to the forward.
Yeah.
The freedom scale.
Yeah. So I was just like really surprised. Like this is, woo. Like I thought Carrie was more like the furthest one we could go in this group, but apparently you are even further. And who knows? Maybe in the future, like, because we have a couple friends who are taking the test now. Our friend Mitchell of Mitchell Matthews Media. There's a free plug for him. He currently took it. I'll be posting his results. I won't share them here now. Okay, we're only doing one at a time here. And I think we're trying to convince your girlfriend to take the test.
I don't think that'll take convincing. I just got to sit with her.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's a long test. That's not that long.
It's not that long. It's like what, 30, 40 questions. Bump that out in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You can breeze right through the religious ones. All right, so our next topic.
Oh, I did.
All right, so our next topic is neoliberalism. Noah, you wanted to talk about this. Go ahead and spill your guts to the world about new age liberalism.
So it's more of like what people would call like centrism. You know what I'm saying? Like people like Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all them. It's like not exactly centrism, but it's more of like you are you're on the right of things, mostly like not socially, but like the economy, but like you do little tweaks to like sort of signal that you're farther left, or you're gonna help the like working people. And I guess I also kind of I like the one thing I have like that's kind of it's not really much of a that's not really like the best definition possible, obviously, but like a lot of times they're like seem together with neo-conservatism as well, but like that's more of like Republicans, mainstream Republicans. I mean, I wouldn't like Donald Trump's rhetoric doesn't sound like it's neoconservatism, but like his policy is, it's just it's pretty not good shit, but that's I would say neocorporatism is probably neoconservatism is a little bit worse than that, but yeah, it's basically just like the policies of like Bill Clinton, Obama, tweaks around the edges type shit.
Oh, all right.
There are better definitions out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure like the person who originated that term was I think Noam Chomsky, and I'm sure he has a much better like definition of that. But that's essentially what it is.
Okay, I got you. Just tweak around the edges, like conservatives, but like more leaning towards left.
Yeah, it's you're not, but it's like I feel like with neoliberalism, it's more of a like convenience thing. It's more of like a doing it, not convenience. It's more of like a smart thing. Like you're doing it so that you get more popular appeal.
Okay. So
that you're looking like you're not conservative while you're also serving like special interests and like the people at the top. That's the thing that I feel like the reason why it's so effective across the whole world in general is because like you can signal that you like with social things or something like that, things that don't matter, that you I'm with normal people, and then you end up undercutting things.
Oh, all right. Well, when I was younger, I remember thinking about liberals versus conservatives, and I always thought that most of politicians who were liberal were the most left you can get, other than being a communist. So like hearing the word new liberal, I was thinking like more of like what kind of new age policies would this bring? But I guess in your definition, there wouldn't be really new policies. There'd just be trying to work and more of a compromise than there were before in the past.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with neoliberalism, it's more of like you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to go farther right for specific policies too. Like that's another thing where it's like it's not even like about like the fear mongering or anything like that. It's literally just because of corruption, like money corruption. Where like within the Democratic Party, for instance, there'd be people, pundits and stuff like that, or people who are within the party itself, who like whenever Bernie was running, they're like, he's gonna go too far left. He's going too far left. Like, and like honestly, that's shit. Like nobody really thinks that way because they like the policies. His policies are overwhelmingly popular with the people, but like that's another thing with like the ideology of like neoliberalism. It differs from the, I'm not gonna say like FDR and everything were like good. Like I think that of course they had to have been pushed to their positions too to some extent, but older, I guess, back in the day with during the days of FDR and stuff like that, those had more like that was a more left leaning sort of policy stance, honestly. And nowadays, I think partly because of Reagan and everything like that, it's been shifted to the right in terms of our political spectrum, and neoliberalism has just become somewhat of like a more palatable version of like conservatism, but it's not exactly conservatism because you're not socially conservative, but you're also doing a lot of like deals with conservatives that also undercut like the American people and only help people at the top. You're just giving people crumbs and saying, look, this is what we did, like for instance like Obamacare, that helped some people, but it was essentially like a conservative way of trying to fix that issue, and it didn't obviously fix the issue of healthcare in this country. It's only helped a few people. The funny thing about it is that like you can do whatever you like. The thing is, like, the reason why you can tell that sort of like critique of leftist policies is like bullshit. The whole like, oh, they're gonna call you a socialist. Well, I mean, Obama did Obamacare, and that's a very like that's actually like I believe that was like made like a right wing like think tank, if I remember correctly, and like they still called him a socialist. Like they called him a secret Marxist and stuff like that, which is obviously not true.
Yeah.
So it's like it's honest. I don't know if it's because they are so into their own shit that they are just they're truthfully saying that. I honestly think that they know that they're being like they're bullshitting, and they just don't want like people like Bernie to be leaders within the party, or leaders in terms of like the government in general. And it's better because the money is coming from the big businesses, and they don't want that to be taken away. I think it's more of that. I have a more cynical view. I don't think it's more of like, oh, they actually believe that. No, I really don't.
Right. So their bases on the economy are the same. Just grow the economy the way it is with the free market.
Yeah, they're neoliberals are more like they're capitalists.
They're capitalists, but like they're more lenient in the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
And they're more, I don't use the word accepting,
Mm-hmm.
But they're more of leaning towards that because of is there a reason, or is that just who they are? Like, is there any benefit to it?
I'm sure for some people within who actually like subscribe to that ideology, yeah, I guess that is probably like just who they are. But for the most part, I think it's just more strategically sound to like be okay on social, like be good on social issues, and be progressive on social issues, and sort of signal that, oh, I'm a progressive person. But then when it actually comes to like policy that actually like, of course that stuff, like the social stuff, affects people, but like the other policies, like economic policies and everything like that stuff that can really like also hurt people, they do under the table type shit, and like try to cut benefits for like social security, stuff like that, benefits for social programs and stuff like that. So I mean, that's why you see like a lot of like people like who are like Joe Biden and stuff like that. They like virtue signal and they'll make concessions in terms of like, not concessions, but like they're like, oh look, I'm listening to Despacito, or something like that.
That was something else. That was awful.
But like they'll try to appeal to like cultural issues rather than actually trying to like get down to like policy issues.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Joe Biden, why don't we go ahead and go into the main topic tonight, which was the first of 3 presidential debates that went on. It was Tuesday night was the debate.
I didn't watch
Donald
all
Trump
of it, but I watched pretty much all of it, by the way.
Joe Biden. And as you were talking about how Joe Biden's undercutting a lot of these progressive like stances on issues, his main thing was to, I guess, strengthen Obamacare. And I remember another point he made was something about the Green New Deal. Do you remember that talking point?
Yeah.
So he talked about his Biden thing for clean energy.
I will admit that is actually much better than any of the conservatives, like the Republicans.
Yeah, but like he said he doesn't support the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
But also
exactly.
He's making his own plan, which is not like the Green New Deal, but basically, is going to do virtually the same thing.
It's not though. It isn't. It's not going to spend as much money though. That's the thing. That's the reason why progressives and everybody they like it. I think that's one of the few things that people I think on the left.
So are you okay with it?
I think it's a good it's actually pretty decent in terms of like environmental policy. Yeah, I mean it's a big you're spending a lot on fixing issues, in terms of like environmental change and stuff like that. So
what was I
forgot what the budget for it was. It was like
so what was the big issue right? What was the big issue for conservatives for the Green New Deal, besides climate change isn't real?
See, the thing is that Trump didn't even say that. He said that he believed it was real.
No, I know, but the big.
But that's the way they act. Yeah.
So I mean, Trump admitted that climate change is real and we have to do something about it. But he also is more worried about the fossil fuel companies and all these businesses that will go out of business if the Green New Deal were to take hold. What was his reasoning behind getting out of the Paris Agreement?
I think whenever they're arguing that his whole spiel on the Paris Agreement is that the United States isn't making their own deals or making their own doing their own business, and you're getting basically caught up in international other outside forces are telling the United States what to do. That's what he says he doesn't like about it. Basically, every time I've seen him talk about it, I think it really boils down to he wants to further deregulate industries, and everything like that. Less regulation, stuff like that. But I don't remember him specifically saying that, but I do remember that was kind of the gist of what his beliefs are on that.
Right.
Getting out of the Paris Accord.
That was just the whole debate itself was frustrating to me because they didn't really. I mean, the issues were brought up, but they didn't really talk about them. I just feel like they were arguing the entire time on who was speaking louder.
That's what you're gonna get when you get Joe Biden. He's not gonna really talk about the issues. He's just gonna he'll make platitudes and shit like that. But the debate in general was even worse though than a normal debate would be, because Donald Trump was just butting in every 2 seconds. That was annoying. I think what was really interesting about the debate was people in general rated Biden as winning the debate. And whenever I first watched the debate, I was like, he's not on the juice tonight. They do not. And let's be real, both of them are taking some performance enhancers. It's been shown, Donald Trump at the UN speech. Remember, he was on a low and he was talking. He was he couldn't even get through a word. He was just I forgot what the word was. But he was
I don't think I watched that one.
I gotta show you. It's funny. He's like literally just like, the United States will do what we do in the best way possible. And like he like in the middle of a word, he just like stopped. And I obviously that's not what he was saying, but like I was just making up, you know. But like in the middle of a word, he didn't finish the word, and so he was obviously coming off of something. And there's also a picture. It's not doctored or anything. Remember that picture? He was like, "I love the Mexicans" back in like 2016 with the burrito bowl type thing.
I tried to avoid that.
Okay, and then there's this in the side of the photo, in the bottom right corner. There's a an open filing cabinet or some sort of cabinet, and there's like Sudafed in there, and it's a UK Sudafed, where it's basically like it has a stimulant in it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you could smash it up and snort it, and it gives you like stimulant, like it's an upper.
Do you think that was the same stuff that Donald Trump Jr. was on when he gave?
No, I think he was on coke.
He's just straight up coke.
I really think he was on coke. I think the president's probably taking coke as well. I don't know, like in office if he has. I definitely think the Sudafed thing, but like he's definitely on. He's on shit. Like the thing.
All right. Well, we can't prove that because
we can't prove it. Obviously, not verified. Like the only piece of evidence we even have is the Sudafed thing. That's a pretty hard piece of evidence in terms of like Trump. For Biden, it's more of just behavioral shit. Well, also for Trump, that there is actually evidence because there's also a lot of videos. He has like really his eyes are very dilated. That's another interesting thing. But like obviously it's like not completely verifiable. But like in the case of Biden, there's less evidence. The only evidence we have is like behavioral. But like you look at him at the Bernie debate, he was like 90% himself or like 80% himself from back when he was in the Obama years, and he was like fighting pretty well in that debate. But then in this debate, I was like, man, I hope they drug him for like a good, because then that's the only way it's gonna be interesting. And they didn't, but it was still interesting regardless of the fact that I don't think they didn't drug him enough or they just didn't drug him to the same point that they did for the Bernie one. It was interesting, I guess, mainly for the fact that Donald Trump was just shooting himself in the foot the whole time. And I think that's the main reason why most of the polls coming out were having him losing, like by like 60 to 30%, like 30% margins. Like it was Trump 30 a lot of times, and it was Biden 60 something. So I think that also paired with the COVID issue. I mean, he just looked. When I first came out of the whole thing, I thought he lost. I thought that Biden was like, yeah, Biden did not do great at all. And a lot of times, like, he did get pummeled by Trump. But I just don't think it stuck as well because, like, the country is in a different place now.
There were, like, one or two moments where I was just like, damn, Trump really brought that up. And I was, like, really surprised.
Yeah, like whenever he would misspeak, he's like, what's on the docket? What? I'm sorry, what? And, like that's pretty like low, but like also like, you know what? That's the way he does it, you know? Honestly, if I was him, I would have brought up the crime bill at that point. I don't know if he did bring up the crime bill because that's something he tends to do at times, because that is actually a real thing. Like he brought up some real things in the debate in which like that were like really good points. But like he came out I think the reason why a lot of the polls came out as him losing, even though he did like for many times they both made, I would say an equal amount of like good shots at each other, I guess. Mm-hmm. Would you say that?
Yeah.
I would say they made
it's hard to figure out which ones were shots and which ones were just them being annoying and interrupting. Yeah. Because like I don't count the personal attacks as points and shots because that's just schoolyard bullying. Yeah. At that point, and you're just going for a low blow that means nothing. Yeah. Like if Biden were to talk about like Trump's appearance, that would mean nothing to him. Yeah. But then Trump would use it as an excuse to talk about Biden's appearance and Biden's mental state and everything, and then we'd just be off the issues entirely. We'd just be what are we debating about at that point? So I think the shots are hard to figure out unless you really focus in on the debates, which I feel like I want to do. I want to go back and look at the debates and see who actually won in terms of, the issues at hand.
I think
and who made good points.
I think what's really interesting is I think the 2016 debate was about like what you can say off the cuff, what you can say that's like really passionate, and of course like passion comes into like debating a great deal, but like the whole off the cuff thing, like how Bernie basically debates or how Trump debates, Trump debates more like a bully, but Bernie, they both have the same attack style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
in some senses.
I see.
Bernie is respectful in the fact that he lets people butt in, but if someone attacks him, he's going to attack you back.
No, the thing about Bernie is that if someone were to butt in, Bernie lets him. Bernie lets him, and he's like waiting. He's like, okay, go ahead, yeah.
And then he comes back with he claps back.
And then he claps back at him. That's one thing I like about Bernie's like tactic of debating.
I slap
He's
your
like,
hand.
You want to talk? You didn't give me time to speak, so you want to talk. All right, I'll let you speak. Okay, but when I clap back, you can't say nothing.
They both, Trump and him in that sense, have a similar style, and they fire up people really well with that. And I feel like in that sense, 2016 was like partly why Trump did so well in his debate last time, is he could fire off the cuff like that, and he could like send good shots back. Maybe not all of them had good evidence. Some of them had good evidence because Hillary had an abysmal record. So does Biden. But like, that had a lot of weight back then. And today, I think the political landscape just really changed. And honestly, Biden came out as like, you could tell he's like rehearsed his lines, but for him, it made him look a little better than Trump. And I think the reason why I feel like it made him look better is because people are so used to Donald Trump and his shit that they were just like, dude, I want someone like to be talking like a normal person. I feel like that's part of the reason why he came out on top in terms of like the polling and shit like that. I think our political climate's a little bit different from 2016 because we went through a crisis.
Yeah, the COVID crisis definitely put a dent in Trump's strategy in terms of like, talking about his huge accomplishments in the economy and everything going well for him up to that point. So, the pandemic itself really, really made this probably a level playing field because there's definitely more dirt on Biden than there is on Trump.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like before this, I felt like it wasn't really a 50-50. I felt like Trump had mainly before COVID.
Yeah,
I thought Trump was going to win.
I was definitely scared if Biden, like, let's think about back in February, like right before Super Tuesday. I think Super Tuesday was in March, but like in February,
it was a shitty day, man.
It was the worst day for
because
Bernie
the establishment all backed behind Biden in the perfect amount of time.
So let's think back in February where we had hopes for 2020, and think about like people were actually scared of Biden versus Trump because Trump was going to have so much dirt on Biden, and Trump had nothing. Biden had nothing on Trump.
I mean, he had stuff.
Bernie probably would have come up with something, like come up with a plan, and then like a month later, probably like a little bit more than that, this whole crisis happened, and so the possibility of Biden actually beating Trump became much more apparent to people, and that's the reason why I think like a lot of people are starting to back him now, than they were before. Like before, it was just his true supporters that were the ones that were actually going to go for him and actually support him, and then he had to like look for other people to help beat Trump in November, and it looks like he's going to have that amount of people.
I think before I think one thing is like before COVID, I think Biden really had to try to convince people who are more on the left a lot more.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't really need to convince us. Like he doesn't need to convince people on the left because he's got so many people who are older who will switch from, I think, Trump to vote for him.
Right.
Because polling has shown
the true centrist of the voting base.
Yeah. And that's really I think personally like Biden is better than Trump, obviously, because I think Trump has a lot more of authoritarianism within him and all that. But like it's really disheartening for someone who's, you know, on my side of things, because it's like he really doesn't even have to work for it. Back in 2016, Clinton had to at least somewhat work.
Yeah.
For the left vote, and she didn't work hard enough.
She didn't know what she was working for.
She wasn't, yeah, and she didn't, you know, do anything for people in Michigan.
Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah, like the Rust Belt. She totally lost the Rust Belt, so she obviously wasn't populist enough, you know. But she made more concessions. Like she was planning on doing a really good college plan, if I remember. Not really. Like she made a compromise with Bernie, and they had she was talking about free college. Remember that? I think everybody forgets that. I think she was talking about free college, even though I still hate Hillary Clinton. But yeah, she was talking about free college, and then lowering the Medicare age to 45, which is not, like, obviously that's nothing to Medicare for all. But literally, the concession they made this time for Medicare, for like the healthcare thing, was having Medicare be available at like 60 or something.
What is that, like 5 years off?
Yes, it's like 5 years off. It's insulting, but they don't need us. Like they don't need our vote.
Yeah.
To win, and that's what's really upsetting about it, is that it's like, dude, like we don't have any like pull in this. Really,
we have nothing. We can go to either side, and either side will treat us like trash.
Yeah.
And it's just...
I think Donald Trump is more dangerous for sure. And I think you'd be an idiot. Like, anybody would be an idiot to say that that's not the case. But, like, dude, like, we need better policies. Like, we need some actual policies out of these people. And I think people need to, like, you have to bleep that. I think people need to organize. I think people need to do that. I know I say that a lot, but I think people need to keep doing that. I really fear that people are going to do like they do every year, and they're going to forget about politics because, yeah, I get it. Bernie didn't win, but like we need to try to like make a change ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know, we need to like pick up, like we need to actually plan.
Pick up where he left off.
He left off.
He gave us the ideas. He gave us a movement to back. Now we have to actually back it up and move forward. Like Bernie's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, we're trying to find the new Bernie right now. I think that's what a lot of our base is doing. That's looking like
Nina Turner.
You see, you understand?
Yeah.
Like we're looking for the new.
But
Bernie.
like you can't be like, I understand looking for a new leader for like presidential reasons, but like we are the movement. Bernie Sanders isn't the movement. Bernie Sanders only like helped make the movement.
It helped us get organized.
So that's what's, because the left before that was like very unorganized.
Yeah, I didn't know where I was.
Yeah, too young, I think. But you know, like that's what's frustrating to me, because I almost feel like I'm almost afraid that urgency is going to be gone. Like, I don't care if you vote for Biden, but if you vote for Biden and you are a leftist, or if you don't vote for Biden and you're a leftist, either way you go, you have to keep organizing. You have to keep trying to plan things and trying to, you know, put pressure on these unjust like fucking hierarchies. You know, like that's what you need to do. If you just forget, then you're not being truthful to what you believe. So, I mean, overall, like I think the best parts for Biden were him kicking like Trump in the ass about Trump had a lot of good shots, but the thing is, the only way, like, I'll say how each one, the winning plan for each one would have been. For Trump, the way he could have won, I think, was if he actually stopped talking so much.
Yeah, if he shut the up.
He shot himself in the foot.
He would have won that debate if he just let Joe Biden, who didn't have anything to say the entire time.
And honestly, if you stopped talking, he would have fumbled. I guarantee you, Biden would have fumbled and everybody would have saw it.
Yeah. everyone would have saw like how incohesive he is and how much trouble we're in. But no, Trump interrupts him because he can't shut his fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And the moderator had to come in and just be like a babysitter separating two siblings, you know?
I guess it's a good thing he didn't shut up because I mean, honestly, like
I mean, for
the United States, I guess it's
the
slightly
Democrats,
better, yeah.
for the Democrats probably, if he just stayed quiet, Joe Biden would have finished the job for him.
He really, that's how weak of a candidate he is, dude. It's honestly, like it was by the grace of like whatever higher power that Joe Biden ended up winning with the American people in terms of like the debate whenever people were polled. You know, like that's.
We're just gonna have to see what happens to these next two debates because if it were just up to this debate, after this one, people would go out and vote. I think there'd be a strong chance. Like,
I don't think it's much of like a coin flip though. Like last time, I think that Biden has had much higher polling numbers than Hillary Clinton did.
Yeah, it wasn't as close, but you can't trust the polls. Like
barely
ever.
I think you can trust. Like the thing is that I think what happened last time was that there was a contingency of people who didn't want to say that they were supporting Trump because he was so bad. Like, did you remember that? That's the reason why a lot of the polling numbers were inaccurate. It's because there was like a phantom Trump vote. I don't think that's going to really come into play as much this year. I really don't.
Yeah, because I think like people are out for Trump.
I think the Overton window has moved a little bit to where Trump is more acceptable socially.
Yeah.
So I think that's to me. I think the polling numbers are a little bit more accurate because last time, and of course this is all just complete like my opinion, but like before, Trump was like such a bad person, and Clinton was too. But he was so much of an outwardly bad person that you didn't want to like even in a poll, which nobody knows your answers, you didn't want to say that you supported him.
Right.
And then those polling numbers ended up being wrong. Of course, Hillary still got the popular vote, but like it was just enough in specific areas that Trump was doing well, that people thought he wasn't doing well, that ended up pushing him over.
Yeah.
I think this time, I really do think that Biden has the Rust Belt and all them more nowadays.
So saying that, do you think it's even worth it to go ahead and vote for Joe Biden?
I hate saying this, but I'm going to vote mainly because of how dangerous Trump is. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that George W. Bush was a terrible person or other presidents weren't terrible people. Yeah, I would say most of our presidents are pretty bad. Like I think Noam Chomsky or whoever, I think it was Noam Chomsky said if you went by like international law, a lot of our presidents would be war criminals. I agree with that. I think a lot of our presidents would, in fact, be war criminals because of all the heinous shit that's gone on. But, like, Trump is so uniquely bad because he has a lot of fascist authoritarian rhetoric that wasn't seen before. Whereas before, there was, like, an insurance of, like, a easy transition of power. Mm-hmm. Even, like, because, the Republicans and Democrats are actually... they're buddies,
Right.
Like they put on a show, but honestly, a lot of them are, in fact, like a part of the same team. They're all trying to do the same things. They're trying to get concessions for people within who are donating for them. But like Trump is uniquely bad because he's like hate crimes and stuff are up nowadays because of his rhetoric and like the way he is. Things have just accelerated. Like he's bombed more than even Obama did, with drone strikes and stuff like that. But like that's not even like the thing that's like that's terrible. But like it's more of just the authoritarian. Like I feel like he's slow. Like Bernie says, I feel like he's a threat to our democracy, and I think that's the only reason that's compelling me to vote for Biden. If this was a normal president, I wouldn't be voting. If this was like a normal like George W. Bush type of Republican, I wouldn't vote. Who did
George W. Bush go up against in the 2004 election?
2004, I think that was it was one of he endorsed Joe Biden.
John Kerry.
What? No, not Curry.
Kerry?
Kerry, thank you.
John Kerry.
Yeah, John Kerry.
He's from Massachusetts.
Yeah, he put on his whole spiel was like, I'm a military man, and
he lost by almost 30 electoral votes. So that was a pretty close race. I mean, not as close as the 2000 race.
Yeah, that was a really close race.
That one was just up to the wire. But he, of course, lost the popular vote.
I mean, George W. Bush, I think, is a terrible person. I think a lot of our presidents are terrible people. But, like, the thing that's unique to me is that he's so openly... Like, the thing he said, like, I don't even know if it was a misspeaking sort of thing, but he was, like, unwilling to condemn white supremacists. You wouldn't see that from other Republicans in the past.
Yeah, that's a weird one to think about. Like, he says they're okay people on both sides.
Also, the intimidation, voter intimidation, like he was saying, go watch the polls. You know, I would say that to my supporters, to go watch them closely. That is scary to me. That scares the shit out of me. And also, like, there came out that his team was talking about usurping the election results by a loophole in the Constitution. And this is not, like, there was an article on this. I forgot. I think it was in the Atlantic or something. There are reports where his team are talking about doing a strategy where even if Joe Biden can get all the electoral votes, they were talking about having their own electors coming in and voting for Trump. But I don't know exactly how it works. I'd have to look up the whole article that talks about why it's a loophole within the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, and that sounds crazy, but that's authoritarian. Like, you're literally just keeping power.
Right. He's just trying to, I guess, stay in power and avoid a peaceful transaction of power.
Yeah,
transition of power.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
on the off chance that he does win back the presidency, what then? What's the plan then?
If he wins the presidency?
If Trump wins it?
Honestly, like, I think either way, people are going to have to organize. I think either way, obviously, people are going to have to organize. But, like, the plan for us...
See, my thing is that I'm not voting for president. Mm-hmm. Because Biden doesn't need my vote.
Okay? Yeah, and I understand that. I'm not going to, like...
Okay, but I am going to vote for representatives and people up for office in my state and in my county. Or in my district or whatever. I don't know. I had to look all that up. And look on the issues and stuff like that. So I'm not too worried about the biggest office in America right now. Mm-hmm. I'm more focused on more localized elections and more statewide elections because those are what are going to affect me directly.
Yeah. Like
almost instantly. Okay, the presidency, maybe I'll see it happen. I'll see some effect happen in like the next 7 or 8 years, you know, when Trump's out of office or Biden's out of office, and we're going to be in some kind of new recession, guaranteed, I guess, because this is the way capitalism works.
Yeah.
And so I want that change. I want to see change now in my favor, instead of try to go for it all and change long term.
Yeah.
Because, you know, small changes can affect the big changes, like to a stronger extent than the big changes all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You know, because if we had Bernie for president, you know, we would be excited and happy, but you'd also have to think about like what happens after he leaves office. You know, did it work? Can that have been like a huge change to the point where the Republicans aren't going to fight for that? Aren't going to fight back on that like they did Obamacare, to the point where it looks like it didn't work because they spent so much time making it not work.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. So I think more of a like promoting local and state change and seeing movements in the small towns, in the counties, in the districts, those kinds of action is more productive than, I guess, like going for it all and looking for who's going to be the next president and who you want to back. with your vote.
Yeah, and I also think that people need to go go on Facebook more and create groups and shit. Like, I understand that sounds really like cliche, but you gotta go on not exactly I guess Facebook is kind of they can monitor you. I think people need to use what we have, what's available to us, to connect with people who we would normally not connect with, in terms of leftists and stuff like that. Get involved with leftist groups and try to make local change, because that will snowball into state or national change.
All right. So on that note, we will end it here. Thank y'all for listening. We now have an Instagram. It's Social Q Podcast. There's no space, no capitals, just that. You can follow me and Noah on Twitter, also on Instagram. Me at Gilly Morals, Noah at NoahPagan12. Capital N, capital P. Unless you changed it and you didn't tell me.
No, I didn't.
Okay, good. All right, thank y'all for listening. Social Q out.